My name is Jayakiran Sebastian. I'm the Dean of the Lutheran Theological Seminary at Philadelphia, and I'm a member of the Postcolonial Networks board.
I'm Mrinalini Sebastian. I'm also a member of the Postcolonial Networks board, and I've been interacting with postcolonial theory for the past 15 years or so.
I got into the whole area of postcolonial theory and theology through the work of R.S. Sugirtha. He studied at the United Theological College in Bangalore, where I studied and then taught for 20 years before we came to the United States of America. When we were both doctoral students at the University of Hamburg in Germany, I was working on the early church, and my wife was working on postcolonial literature. And I must confess that I spent more time reading her books than the dusty, rather dry books coming from the time of the early teachers of faith. And it was at that point that I saw that there could be a very creative interface between postcolonial theory, postcolonial theology, and the texts from the early church which I was reading. So my second book, my first one was on my dissertation. The second book is called Enlivening the Past, an Asian Theologian's Engagement with the Early Teachers of Faith, published by Gorgias Press in 2009, which uses the lens of postcolonial theory to revisit, re-signify the writings and teachings of the early teachers of faith.
I stumbled upon Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak, and I really liked the concept of subaltern that she uses, and I've used it during my academic career, and I actually learned to learn new things from postcolonial theory. I learned to unlearn some of the things. I have also learned that you can be critical and use the subaltern perspective even to learn more about the colonial period. So I really like the way she teaches how we can learn to listen to the voice of the subaltern, and how we can unearth the silent voice from texts which are from the past, from the history of colonialism. I've really found it a very useful way of reading differently. I've also learned to unlearn things, unlearn especially the privilege that education, my class, and that my ability to move around in the world has given me. And what I learned from postcolonialism is that rather than trying hard to represent the subaltern or the subjugated people, we must really learn to listen to them, and that's been a very, very precious learning moment for me, and that's what I've also tried to keep in mind whenever I deal with texts of the colonized people or texts of the colonial times from texts written by the colonizers. So I think these two things have been very crucial for me, learning to be a critical reader and unlearning the privileges that we have so that we can listen carefully to the voice of the subaltern.
I'm also the editor, the co-editor, along with Joseph Duggan, of a new series called Postcolonialism and Religions. The first volume in this series has just been published by Palgrave Macmillan. It's called Decolonizing the Body of Christ, Theology and Theory After Empire. And I'm delighted that a student of mine back in 1988, from my very first batch of students as a young theology teacher, a student from that batch, David Joy, is the co-editor of this volume. It's a matter of immense pride that someone like him has reached this state, and it's a matter of pride for me to be published in a book edited by him. Both Mrinalini and I have articles in this book. I wrote on decolonizing the body of a martyr, and Mrinalini wrote on postcolonial theory and theology, on educating ourselves to be
planetary subjects. I mean, it's a take on global subjects, but globalization has certain negative connotation to it. Planetary is more inclusive, it includes even environmental concerns. So this is a term used by Spivak again, so I just used it in the title. And I just want to also say that decolonizing knowledge doesn't mean that you replace existing knowledge with some form of nativist or third worldist knowledge. It's just a recognition that there is a kind of cooperative, mutually beneficial learning process involved here, and I would really like to sort of highlight that element here.
Through the postcolonial networks, we have come into contact with people with similar interests from all over the world. It's fascinating to interact with them, to find out what they are being impacted by and what they want to impact through their activism, through their research, through their writings. And through this video, we want to encourage as many of you as possible to become a part of this global network of those who are committed to using postcolonial theory and postcolonial theology as an emancipatory tool, even as we work together towards planetary justice.